Welcome back to Houston Newsmakers. You just heard from Gaby Rowe in the previous segment concerning the challenges created by the digital divide. I thought it was worth diving into that topic a bit deeper, and I'm delighted she can join me this morning. Good morning, Gaby.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here. Let me ask you this. How real is it? What we've come to know as the digital divide, how real is that? Because we've heard it a lot, but how is it actually affecting people's lives?
Well, it is real in every way, and I think it's real in many ways that people haven't really even started to dive into yet. We are beginning to hear more about the learning challenges it represents, and of course not wanting to leave a generation behind who can't get online, but it has so many effects that go beyond that, whether it's, as we heard Colin mention, telehealth, workforce development, even filling out your unemployment forms online. You don't have connectivity, you are blocked by that digital divide, you can't get there.
So we know it's there. What kind of solutions do you see floating around out there that you think have traction that can make a difference and really kind of grab a lot of people in and bring them into the tent, so to speak?
Absolutely. Well, I think there are a number of initiatives that are coming through the COVID period and hopefully post-COVID. And the first of those are triage efforts. How do we get devices and hotspots into people's hands as quickly as we possibly can? And then the efforts that go beyond that are going to be the ones that deal with the broader broadband issue. Operation Connectivity, the effort going on right now in the state to essentially put $400 million to work, half district money, half state and federal money, getting devices into students' hands, a huge jump forward. But there is so much more to do.
It took a pandemic and shutting down schools to get people to really pay attention to this. You know that it's been there all along, but now people are paying attention. How optimistic are you that there's a way to keep the focus of attention on this once this pandemic is over? Because the pandemic will end, the digital disparity may not.
Well, it certainly won't, because it's been around long before the pandemic ever came upon us. And that is one of my greatest fears. I have been an advocate for bridging the divide for about 20 years now. So there have been many years that we've been fighting to get people to pay more attention to this. I do think that there is a level of understanding and perception about the necessity of connectivity now that people never had to sort of live and breathe before pre-COVID. So that will stay with us. And I think that is going to be our greatest tool. But we have to keep having this conversation and bringing it to the forefront, or we are at risk of losing an entire segment of our population, unconnected from our communities, from engagement, and from the tools of society. And
your background is education. You've been an educator for many years before you started to do what you're doing now. So you've been able to see the impact, what's going on. Talk about what is your opinion about the potential long-term damage to our communities if this digital divide isn't narrowed in some way, shape, or form?
Well, you can just go to the basic research about days of school missed. And the research tells us that if a child misses more than 30 days of school, not consecutively, but over the course of any given school year, they will fall between 3 and 5 years behind and never catch up.
Wow.
We are talking about children not missing days, but weeks and months. We are at risk of losing a generation that cannot and will not be able to engage in the economic opportunities of the future. And it sounds extreme when you put it in those terms, but it really isn't. That is the risk we are taking.
Entrepreneurship has kind of been a part of your life as well, so is education. When was the light bulb moment for you when you looked at and you saw and you realized there are the haves and the have-nots, and somehow or another we got to do something to make sure that the have-nots get a little bit more of what the haves have and figure out a way to make that happen?
Well, I would say they should get a lot more, but that's a whole other conversation. But, for me, it was 20 years ago. I was working on what's called a flipped teaching model in New York City, where we had students using technology to watch lectures from teachers in the evenings and engage in hangouts and homework discussions so that they could get their help and understanding during that time. and then coming into their classroom and doing real project work in collaborative ways and problem solving with the teachers there to accelerate the learning. These were kids that we took out of failing public schools and trying to fill in those, what we called Swiss cheese holes that their education had left. And we found that the great plan only worked if that student could connect. And that was my light bulb, because there was a clear line between my white students and my Black and Latinx students. And there's really no other stark way to put it that's more telling. And that was when I really began this fight, so that there could be equity, equality, and not just equal. And I think that one of my favorite expressions is fair is not equal, and what we're looking for is fair here. And fair means we need to do a lot in this area to be able to make up the ground that we haven't covered in the past. And
Operation Connectivity seems to be doing that. It's a big step in that direction. It's from the state and from the Dallas ISD. I know that's where it originated from. Politics is obviously playing a role in this in some way, shape, or form. Are you concerned at all that politics, while it's doing something very positive for the digital divide right now, there's always that specter of maybe politics maybe not being a positive thing but becomes divisive? How concerned are you about that?
Well, I'll start by saying Operation Connectivity is the perfect example of what happens when politics works well. And the effort that we're underway right now to put these hundreds of thousands of devices into students' hands across the state of Texas came together in a matter of weeks and was funded in a matter of days. And that was an effort driven by the governor, the commissioner, a number of our legislators, and a very political act with incredible upside and good. The risk is always going forward that this issue, connectivity, the digital divide, the learning associated with it, gets deprioritized because something else becomes politically important. And that, I think, rests on us to ensure that it stays in the public eye and that we continue to come up with collaborative approaches going forward that really tie the interests of industry, the interests of students and citizens, and the political interests together. And there are ways to thread that needle, and we need to be very conscious that we do it daily for the months and years to come, or we are, as you say, we are not going to win at this. We are going to be overcome by the politics.
Well, I thank you for being here this morning. Be willing to stick around as we continue our conversation on Newsmakers Extra. We just put our toes in the water. We got a lot more to do here. Thank you so much for being here for this.